trying to eat healthy, but your kitchen seems like a source of constant stress, I have something very uncomfortable to talk to you about today. I see you trying. You're buying the fresh produce, you're pinning the recipes, and you're following all the healthy lifestyle gurus. And yet, at 6 p.m., the food is wilting in your fridge. The kids are hungry, and you're reaching for the takeout menu. Again, I've been there. As a busy mom of two, currently pregnant with my third, I'm going to be straight with you. For a long time, I sucked at this. I was the one chasing for the perfect aesthetic meal prep, trying every trick I saw on my feed, only to end up exhausted with a trash can of wasted groceries. But then something clicked. I stopped trying to game the perfect kitchen, and I started working with the reality of my schedule. That's when freezing my from-scratch meals became an absolutely invaluable part of my life. It didn't just save me money, it did save me a ton of energy and a ton of time. Today, I'm showing you exactly how I use these silicone cubes to thrive, to avoid waste, and to feed my family real sugar-free food even when I'm at my busiest. Let's get into it. Now, you don't need expensive molds. You can find cheaper versions on Amazon. All of them do the exact same thing. Or feel free to use ice cube silicone molds. They are slightly smaller, but just feel free to use more cubes when you want to assemble into a meal. Here is the breakdown of how this challenge is going to work. I'm making 9 essential Mediterrasian prep items that I'm gonna be freezing into the blocks. My goal is to create a perfectly balanced from scratch plate every time without the stress of cooking from zero. To keep things balanced and nutritious, I've prepped 3 high protein, 3 starches, 2 veggies, and 1 comforting soup that you must try. And to really test if this is the most efficient way to eat healthy as a busy mom, every day for lunch this week, I'm going to be making a meal using only my frozen cooked food. Because I want to help you get started on eating healthy journey, I'll be sharing all my recipes into the description, into a docs. You can also find my digital cookbook linked down below. All of these are completely free, so just grab them. Alright, now let's get into the first. Now, normally most people just use the breast for breaded chicken, but today we're using a whole bird. I'm starting by breaking this down, cutting the back legs, separating the breast, and getting those wings. Since this is a smaller farm-fresh chicken compared to the massive ones you see in the stores, I'm slicing the breast into these beautiful 1-inch thick pieces. For the coating, I'm keeping it simple, 1 well-beaten egg and a separate plate with plenty of breadcrumbs, salt and black pepper. We're going straight from the egg to the crumbs. I skipped the flour layer today to keep it quick. Into the stainless steel pan with some olive oil, they go. This will fry for about 15 to 20 minutes. Since we're using bone-in pieces alongside the breast, make sure to check right next to the bone to ensure they're fully cooked. Today, toward the end, I'm dropping in a bit of butter for that extra flavor boost. Once they're golden and crispy, they go into the glass container and we move to our second protein, which truly could not be easier. Next, I have a generous piece of beef that I've cut into cubes. My goal here is to make it ready under 15 minutes. I'm frying this in olive oil and seasoning simply with salt. A pro tip, when you notice the oil is gone, add a splash of water to the pan. It keeps the beef tender and prevents burning while it finishes. I'm freezing this in my silicone cubes with a layer of broccoli on top. This makes it so easy to grab and go for a balanced meal with rice later. It freezes perfectly and honestly the taste doesn't change a bit. Moving on to our fajitas. Now for an authentic look, you'd use bell peppers, but I'm using these crunchy red peppers I had on hand. I'm slicing them thin along with half a red onion right into the same pan I used for the chicken to soak up all that flavor. We've put small pieces of chicken in here, so this cooks fast, about 10 to 15 minutes, until the veggies are soft and the chicken is juicy. I season with salt, pepper and paprika, keeping it simple and quick. A squeeze of fresh lemon and a generous handful of cilantro at the end makes it pop. I actually had some fresh pitas and Greek yogurt nearby and I just couldn't help myself. I had to make a wrap right then and there. It was a total success. The rest, however, made it into the freezer cubes to stick with the theme. Of course, it's not the freezer series without cilantro rice. This is a staple because it matches everything. If you have a rice cooker, use it. If not, the pan method is easy. Wash your rice 4 or 5 times. Cover it in an inch of water, add salt and bring to a boil. Once that heat is lowered and the water is gone, fluff it up in a bowl with lots of fresh cilantro and lime juice, or a very ripe lemon if that's what you've got. These cubes are beautiful and ready to save your life after a busy day. When it comes to starches, I feel like lentils are so underrated. This recipe is inspired by a dal recipe. I'm washing a cup of red lentils and bringing them to a boil with salt. While that's working, I'm finally chopping half an onion and 2-3 cloves of garlic. I prefer chopping over mincing here to keep that texture. Saute those in olive oil until they're beautiful, then add in 3 roughly chopped ripe tomatoes. Cover for 5 minutes, then mash them down with your spatula into a gorgeous homemade sauce. Since I'm pregnant, I'm adding some leftover cooked spinach into this soup for that extra folic acid baby needs. Top it with fresh cilantro and black pepper and you have a delicious, cheap and nutrients-dense meal that freezes beautifully. Now for my homemade hummus. We make this every couple of days and no exaggeration. Canned chickpeas mashed well, salt, minced garlic, lemon juice and plenty of tahini. Standard recipes call for 1/4 cup, but in this house we go for a full half cup. The funny thing is that by the time I went to freeze this, my family had eaten almost all of it. It does freeze well, I just barely had enough left to show you because we enjoyed so much. A healthy addition to any dish is a hit of greens. For the spinach, I'm doing a quick 30-second blanch in boiling water, then straight into an ice bath to keep that color. For the broccoli, I'm using the florette and the steams, which are so delicious, and boiling them for 4 to 5 minutes. I'm layering this in the mold, spinach on the bottom, broccoli on top, so I can decide exactly how much of each I want for my portions later. Finally, this is a perfect Lent recipe using basic ingredients: red onion, carrots and potatoes. Since we're doing a no oil day, I'm sauteing this in a bit of water before adding the green lentils. Season with salt, cover with water or veggie broth and let it simmer for 20 minutes. At the end, I'm adding chopped Swiss chard for the last 5 minutes, then finishing with, you guessed it, lots of cilantro and lemon. This is exactly what you want in the freezer for those days you just aren't in the mood of cooking. What if I told you that these simple freezer silicone molds could save you your time, money, and actually make meal prepping something that you don't dread? I thought super cubes were just another silicone tray in cute colors and sizes, and honestly I thought they were a little bit overpriced, but once I've realized that you can use them for way more than just soups and stews, my whole system and approach to meal prepping has changed. And if you're new here, welcome to Mediterrasian cooking. This is where eating healthy becomes available to everybody. I am a mom of two, currently pregnant with my third, and I'm still learning how to feed my family the best that I can. So in today's video, I'm going to weight it on the Supercube trend and show you 3 ways that I've been using this tool every single week to help me hit my protein goals on a budget and eat food that I actually enjoy without overthinking it or spending hours in the kitchen, especially with little babies around. And I saved the best use for last, so be sure to stick around to the end of this video. Here's something that might surprise you given that this is a channel about healthy eating. I actually struggle a bit when it's about meal prepping because we eat so much. I do it because I have to have some kind of reserves in case I don't have time or we come home from somewhere and there's no food ready. Otherwise, the takeout option becomes very tempting and we want to avoid it as much as possible. So I'm always looking for ways to make the process faster, simpler, and less annoying. But when Supercubes started showing up everywhere on my social media feed, I'll be honest, I was a little bit skeptical. But what finally convinced me to give them a try was the first use that I'm going to show you. And I think you might find this very relatable. My freezer was not very organized and half labeled Ziploc bags. Nothing was portioned. Thawing something out meant committing to that batch all over again, which when you make a giant pot of something weeks ago is a lot. Now I can just portion my portions into individual servings right in the tray. 1 cube equals usually about 1 cup and it's about a meal, and I can take out exactly what I need when I need it. And because I'm not forcing myself or my kids to eat the same thing on repeat, I actually enjoy it more when it comes back around a few days or a few weeks later. So same dish, way less boredom. And I love having a variety of choices at my fingertips. I bring my lunch to the table in just a couple of minutes if I need to every day, and I love having a hot meal that tastes better than anything that I could get at the drive-thru. And I've pretty much put an end to food waste in my kitchen, which is a huge win for us, especially when you're trying to not throw away food at all. And ideally to stick a budget. Once I got leftovers sorted out, I started thinking bigger. What if I could do this with ingredients that I would normally never bother making from scratch? So that's where use number 2 came in, and again, it completely changed how I think about stretching my food dollar. So really, most people don't cook dried chickpeas, dried beans from scratch, and I get it, it takes so long. It takes time, and canned beans are so widely available, not too overpriced, but dried chickpeas cost a fraction of the price. And I honestly think that they actually taste better. But the problem for us was always the quantity, because cooking a pot of beans felt like throwing the dice. Like, you never know what you're really going to end up with. It's like 1 cup of dried chickpeas become into 5 when they're cooked. Now, whether I cook beans or veggies, I do it without fear. I make chickpeas, white beans, black beans, whatever I'm working with that week. Also very big quantities of meat, whatever is left over, and I can just portion straight out into my Supercube tray, and I know exactly what each cube equals. And I can have them whenever I need to. I love being able to pull 1 or 2 out and just toss them directly into the pot, especially because the kids don't always eat with us. They might wanna have their meal a bit later, and I can have them whenever I need to. I love being able to pull 1 or 2 out. So if I'm making a curry or a stew, it's like an extension of the pantry in your freezer, except you made it all by yourself for literally pennies a serving. So once I got beans handled, I thought, what about everything else that goes into a recipe or a meal? Was I saw people using this for component prepping items instead of complete dishes, my weekly prep time dropped dramatically. So the next use is where that really comes together. This is the shift that changed everything for us, and it's way simpler than it sounds. So instead of making complete meals and eating the same thing 4 or 5 times in a row, I started prepping building blocks. So we're taking individual components, portioned and frozen, and ready to mix and match. I was seeing this all over social media and I thought I would give it a try. Why not? And I've been doing this with cooked greens, with rice, cooked meats, even raw protein freeze beautifully. All you have to do is portion, freeze, and then just transfer to a bag once they're solid. What this means is that you can mix and match your ingredients and build a meal from scratch in minutes, depending on what everyone prefers. One of my kids likes more rice and the other more meat, so on. You can use different dressings, different sauces, different seasonings. It never feels like the same meal twice. It's a lot of fun. And for those of us watching our protein and calorie intake, this also makes tracking so much easier, especially during pregnancy, when the protein intake has to be way higher than the regular one. I always know exactly what I'm getting in each cube. There's no estimating, there's no measuring, no logging from scratch. Alright, so leftovers are covered, beans on demand, mix and match building blocks in the freezer. This is how I turned from a skeptical impulse buy to something that I genuinely reach for every single week, if not probably every single day. I'll link the specific trays that I use down in the description below. Be sure to let me know in the comments if you have discovered any other uses for these super cubes that I might not have covered today. And if you like this video, please give it a like and consider hitting that subscribe button. For more budget-friendly, high-protein meal prep inspiration, here's another video that I think you'll enjoy. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time. We all know about the super cube trend, but do we all want to spend the money on them? They can definitely simplify your life, but at $30 a pop, the cost adds up. I figured out 5 cheap, some are even free alternatives that I'm going to show you today exactly how to use them. Now, let's be clear, they aren't exactly like the high-end silicone molds, but you can get great results without the price tag. The first method is what I call the grandma method because it uses empty containers you already have, like this Greek yogurt tube. It's important to use containers with a round neck or straight sides so the frozen cube can slide out easily. This works best for liquids like soups and stews. Once it's frozen, the trick to getting it out is just dipping the bottom in hot water for about 10 seconds. It slides right out into the plate. You can do this with cream cheese tubes, sour cream containers, or even hummus jars. It's cheap, on hand, and easy. The second method uses standard plastic wrap. If you buy the big rolls from Costco, it will probably last until you retire. When I lived in the US, I used this all the time. This works best for cooked rice, dough, steamed veggies, beans. All you do is portion the food into the wrap, fold it into a tight cube shape, and freeze it. In a couple of hours, it's ready to toss into a freezer bag. You just have to be careful not to tear the plastic into your food, but it really does the job for shaping. This option is the closest to the name brand molds. It's a silicone mold from Shein that cost me about $2. It gives me those perfect Lego cubes, but there are some trade-offs. It's not oven safe or dishwasher safe, and because it's lower quality silicone, it can absorb food smells over time. I'm still researching the long-term durability, but for quick results on a budget, it's a solid alternative. I'd love to hear what you think about using these cheaper molds in the comments. This is similar to the first method, but using items like plastic cups or even upcycled egg cartons, paper cups, or milk cartons. I used a plastic glass here to portion out small cuts of meat. It's not a perfect system, but it's an easy way to portion meals without buying anything new. My last suggestion is using parchment paper inside a cup or a baking pan or even a plate. For a plate, line it with parchment and pour your food in an even layer. Freeze it for about 90 minutes until it's firm but not rock hard. Then use a knife to score or cut the layer into squares and put it back to finish freezing. Once solid, they'll snap perfectly along those lines. Whether you're using these homemade hacks or the silicone trays, the goal is the same. Get the food frozen, pop it out, and move it to a heavy-duty freezer bag as soon as it's solid. Since DIY containers aren't usually airtight, the freezer bag is what prevents freezer burn and keeps your food tasting fresh for months. If these tips saved you some dollars today, please hit that like button. It really helps the algorithm show this to other parents and creators who are trying to save money. And if you're curious to see how I prepped 10 different meals using 3 methods for the first time, click the link on the screen now. If you're struggling to eat healthy without spending many hours in the kitchen, I want to give you a free gift. I've spent many hours to break it down into a 30 recipe book for energy, recovery, and weight loss. Go to the description and grab it, it's absolutely free. If you're struggling to eat healthy without spending many hours in the kitchen, I want to give you a free gift. I've spent many hours to break it down into a 30 recipe book for energy, recovery, and weight loss. Go to the description and grab it, it's absolutely free. Welcome back. I've been doing a bunch of food restocking at home, so I thought it would be appropriate for us to start up this month with some cost-saving tips. Shopping for a family, or just buying for yourself, let's jump right in. If you're a bacon lover like me, you probably already know how great Costco is for buying in bulk. As you see, I've got so much of it. So first things first, I go for relatively thick sliced bacon. Honestly, I just like the texture. It's chewier, meatier, and holds up well in all kinds of dishes. Whether you're making a bacon, egg, and cheese, tossing it into pasta, or adding it to your fried rice, thick bacon just makes everything better. Plus, it's super versatile. Bacon can get really sticky when it's fresh, so I like to separate the strips a bit. Then, if the bacon's a bit moist or slippery, I'll just pat it dry with paper towels to remove some of that moisture. It helps the bacon freeze better and keeps it from getting all mushy later on. I layer each strip of bacon with parchment paper before I freeze it. This makes sure the bacon doesn't stick together into one big clump. Seriously, no more trying to pry apart frozen bacon slices. Just a simple layer of parchment between each slice and you're golden. Here's a fun one that I learned from another video a while back. It's called the bacon roll-up. I know it sounds a little weird, but it works. After you've separated the strips, roll them up like a little fruit roll-up. It takes up way less space in your freezer, and it makes it so much easier to grab a few strips when you need them. You just unroll it and you're good to go. I also like to save a few strips in the fridge for the week, so I don't have to keep pulling from the freezer every time I want some bacon. I keep it all together into a Ziploc or two. Freezing it properly like this keeps it fresh for longer, and it helps avoid that weird slimy bacon situation. If you've watched my previous videos, you know that I'm all about keeping my kitchen stocked with high quality, affordable ingredients, especially when it comes to making healthy meals. One staple I always have on hand is flour. Yes, flour. It might sound simple, but for us, it's absolutely essential. I'm not a fan of buying bread from the store. If you're like me, you've probably noticed how many ingredients are in the store, most of which I'd rather avoid. Things like enriched flour, which is highly processed and not something that I want to be eating regularly. And it can also be pretty difficult to follow a sugar-free diet if you're relying on a store-bought bread, so I choose to make my own. As a Romanian, bread is a part of my daily meals, but instead of buying it, I buy flour in bulk from Costco. The quality is great and it's high in protein, which is exactly what I want in my kitchen. I use it for so many things, from baking fresh loaves of bread to creating all sorts of baked goods. This time I made about 7 loaves of bread in one go. After prepping the dough, I wrap each loaf in plastic wrap and pop them in the freezer. This way I always have fresh dough ready to bake whenever I need it. The dough stays moist, and when I bake it, the bread stays fresh for 2 to 3 days. Now you might wonder, why not just bake all the loaves at once and freeze the bread? I've tried that, but the taste just isn't the same as fresh baked bread. So here's what I do instead. I take one loaf out of the freezer, let it thaw for 1 hour on the counter, or pop it in the microwave for about 10 minutes. Then I bake it at 430 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes. It's the perfect way to get that fresh baked taste without spending all day in the kitchen and almost no effort. And let me tell you, there's nothing better than a slice of fresh bread with fried eggs and bacon in the morning. Or even just a warm piece of bread with butter. It's a simple pleasure, and with flour on hand, I can have that fresh taste every time. When I bring home a 2-pound block of sharp cheddar or Gouda or both, I don't keep it whole. Instead, I cut the big block into 4 or 5 smaller pieces. This way, I'm only taking out what I need each time and keeping the rest of the cheese fresh. Once I've cut the pieces, I wrap each one tightly in plastic wrap. This step is key because it prevents the cheese from drying out and helps seal in its moisture. After I've wrapped each piece, I store them in the refrigerator. The great thing is that cheese stays fresh for quite a while in there, anywhere from a few weeks to a month, depending on how quickly you go through it. But if you want to store it for even longer, freezing is also an option. Just pop the wrapped pieces in a freezer, in a safe bag or container, and when you need a piece, just pull one out, let it thaw in the fridge, and you're good to go. Cutting the cheese into smaller portions not only helps keep it fresh, but it also gives me the confidence of grabbing exactly what I need for recipes, like for eggs or pasta. Plus, it makes it easier to snack on a slice whenever I'm craving something cheesy. If you're someone who loves cooking from scratch, then you know carrots are a staple. But let's be real, a big bag of carrots can be a bit overwhelming, especially if you're trying to keep them fresh. So I've got a few tips to make sure they last as long as possible for my family. First off, I always peel them all at once. I know it's a bit of time commitment, but trust me, it's a game changer. Having them prepped means less work every time I need to cook, and it saves me tons of time in the long run. Then I store them in a glass jar. I fill the jar with water and pop it in the fridge, where they stay fresh for up to 3 weeks. Just remember to change the water every couple of days to keep them crisp. If I'm feeling extra organized, I chop the carrots into small cubes, perfect for soups, curries, or anything else that calls for them. I also sometimes leave them whole, peeled, and wrap them in plastic wrap before freezing them. This method can keep them fresh for up to a year, though I recommend using them within 10 months for the best flavor. For us, carrots don't last that long. We go through them so quickly. If you're looking to add healthy snacks to your diet without breaking the bank, this one is for you. Now, I don't know about you, but I love having a healthy snack on hand, and nuts are one of my go-to options. Walnuts and cashews are packed with protein, healthy fats, and other essential nutrients, making them perfect for fueling your body throughout the day. But here's the thing, if you buy them in bulk, especially at Costco, you get a great deal and they last much longer than you might think. So here's how I make them last. After I get my bulk bags from Costco, I immediately divide them into smaller portions. I use Ziploc bags, nothing fancy, just simple, reliable storage. I make sure to label each bag with the date, or maybe not if I know that I'm gonna use them soon, then pop them in the refrigerator. Keeping them cool helps prevent them from going rancid, and honestly, this method makes them last for months. I can grab a handful whether I need a quick snack and I don't have to worry about them spoiling too soon. Nuts like walnuts and cashews contain healthy oils that when exposed to heat or light can go bad quickly. Storing them in the fridge keeps those oils fresh and helps preserve the flavor and texture. It's a super simple step that makes a huge difference. Besides being an easy snack, walnuts and cashews are healthy. Walnuts are packed with omega-3 fatty acids, which are great for heart health, while cashews are loaded with magnesium and iron, which support your muscles and immune system. Whether you are adding them to your smoothie or just snacking on them straight from the bag, these nuts are a must-have. If you're a butter lover like me, you know that Costco is the place to grab a good deal on butter, but specifically this brand. I feel like it's the only real butter in America. What do you think? When you buy a big package, you need to store it properly to make sure it stays fresh and doesn't go to waste. Butter is such a versatile ingredient, really high in calories that I use it in so many of my recipes. Whether I'm baking, cooking, or just spreading it on toast, butter is a must-have in my kitchen. The trick is to make sure you store it right so it lasts a long time. When I bring home a big block of butter, I don't just leave it in its original packaging. Instead, I cut it into 2 smaller pieces. This is so much easier for daily use. I keep 1 piece in a French butter dish on the counter, which makes it easy to grab for cooking or spreading. The other piece I store in the fridge. This way I've got soft butter ready to go for any meal, but the rest stays fresh in the fridge. An important tip: if you keep the butter in its original packaging, you might end up eating a little bit of the wrapper when you're trying to get a piece off the block, and that's why I prefer to cut it into 2 portions on a plate. It keeps everything cleaner and ensures I'm not accidentally eating bites of plastic. Plus, it helps the butter last longer by controlling how much I use at a time. The great thing about butter is that it lasts for a long time, especially when you store it properly. The piece I keep on the counter is in the French butter dish. It can last about 1 week or 2, but in my case it's max a couple of days, and I find that's the perfect amount of time for easy daily use. When it comes to buying peppers in bulk, especially at Costco, the possibilities are endless, and it's totally worth it if you know how to store them properly. I love using peppers in so many dishes, so I never let them go to waste. Here's my to-go method. I chop them into small cubes, mixing up the colors, because who doesn't love a pop of color and extra flavor? And then I wrap them tightly in plastic wrap. I portion them out based on what I'll need for each meal. And here's the best part: even if I don't use all of it, I can just pull out what I need and pop the rest back into the freezer. Chopped peppers, when stored this way, can stay fresh in the freezer for about 6 to 8 months for the best quality. Technically, they can last up to a year if stored properly, which is awesome when you're buying in bulk. Frozen peppers are perfect for stir fries, soup, stews, sauces, you name it. Today I'm using some of my frozen peppers for a delicious baked beef dish. I just throw them in the pan frozen alongside sauteed onions and let them cook together. Now, speaking of onions, I know some people freeze them too, but I just prefer to keep them fresh. Onions last up to 4 weeks at room temperature, and I always peel and chop them right before using. It just gives a fresher flavor to my dishes. What do you think? Does freezing work for you, or do you prefer keeping things fresh too? That wraps up for my Costco haul for today. Let me know in the comments if you loved this and if you want to see more hauls like this one. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more, and share your thoughts below. I always love hearing from you. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care. If you're struggling to eat healthy without spending many hours in the kitchen, I want to give you a free gift. I've spent many hours to break it down into a 30 recipe book for energy, recovery, and weight loss. Go to the description and grab it, it's absolutely free. I'm guessing when people come for the first time to my channel, they think that eating healthy means you cook bread for 3 straight days. Or you're cooking up dishes that take many hours to produce. But in reality, I'm very busy just like all of you, and a lot of times my meals don't look like that at all. I am a busy law student and a mom of 2, pregnant with my 3rd, and I'm just trying to produce a meal in 15 minutes. That's what a healthy home cook is. Still not choosing fast food when you're tired and busy to put food on the table. I'm going to be showing you my top 3 healthy meals recipes. Those dishes are very customizable. Let's get into the recipes. The first recipe we're making is a 15-minute pasta with a quick tomato sauce. Add water to a pot and bring it to a boil. Next, I'll get a pan preheating on low heat. I'm going to dice up an onion nice and thin so it cooks quickly and dump in a good amount of high-quality olive oil. I'll throw the onions into the pan to saute them a bit, only for a couple of minutes, and in the meantime, slice up some garlic. I find slicing is more comfortable. It also protects it from burning, and it activates the allicin better, which has anti-inflammatory benefits. I'm just wetting the onions and garlic without getting too much color, just a few minutes and they are ready. Now I'll dump in these tomatoes, cutting them into a few pieces to speed up the cooking. I'll put a lid on so they break down. You notice I did not break the pasta, which is ideal. It will eventually all get in the water. I hope the Italians are proud of me. I'll chop up some cilantro and grate some cheese. Ideally you'd use Parmesan, but I'll use Gouda because this is what I have. The tomatoes look amazing. I'll use a spatula because it is the only tool that I have on hand to mash them now. I'm honest with you, that took no time and looks pretty good. It's sweet and a bit garlicky and so creamy. The pasta is al dente after about 9 minutes. It comes together so easily. We add the pasta right into the sauce with a little pasta water to combine evenly. We want the noodles to mix well with that sauce and create creaminess with the starch. We'll add the cheese and finally at the end the fresh herbs. That tomato sauce is loaded with depth of flavor and you didn't need a store-bought jar that would have cost you at least 5 times the price of the tomatoes. This is so much better than the sauce you buy at a store. Next, I wanted to hit multiple cuisines, so let's go a bit into the Middle East to make a homemade hummus. I'll start by adding the canned chickpeas into a bowl with warm water. If you have the time, feel free to cook dry ones, but in order to be ready within 15 minutes with the prep, I'll use this. You can be even faster with a blender. It would normally take me about 5 minutes to make it, but we don't have one now at the current home we live in, and so I'll improvise by mashing them. I like to peel the skin off, which I find optional if you have a blender. In order to be fast, I'll just do it with my hands. The warm water helps peel those skins off so quickly. Once I remove them, I use a fork to mash them. A stone grinder can be helpful, just like the old ways of making it, but a fork or even a garlic mincer does a great job. Minimalism can make you quite creative, which is funny. But anyway, now add some salt, mince a clove of garlic, add the juice from half a lemon, and lots of tahini. This is the way we love it, not too garlicky or too sour. Adjust it based on your taste. Ideally, we serve this with homemade pita bread. I have some leftovers to use, but to make it ready within 15 minutes, we'll serve it it with carrots and cucumbers. I'll also add some homemade pickles. The ones at the store have sugar and I just find it so unnecessary. I have some olives, so I'll add those on the side. We do love to serve hummus with lots of olive oil. I'll garnish with a bit of paprika, and here you have a very easy high protein dinner alternative. This last 15-minute meal is by far my laziest, and I say that because every home cook needs a lazy go-to. I can cook more to have leftovers for tomorrow, and it's pretty easy to keep it fresh for days. The only effort is chopping the veggies, but if you have a special tool, that will cut the time at least in half. Start with some broccoli. I cut the florets first, then slice the hard part, about half of which is just as good as asparagus. The bigger ones I cut in half so they cook evenly. Then add them to the pan. I'll make it oil-free because during Lent most weekdays are no oil. You can saute with water or feel free to use olive oil. I'll slice some red onion that I add right on top. Some mushrooms would be delicious, but we'll skip those as I don't have any for now. I'll peel a carrot, cut it into thin layers and add them to the pan. Another really good ingredient is red pepper. It brings sweetness and crunch. I'll add it right on top of the other veggies. The beauty of this recipe is that it's very customizable. You can also use leftovers. About half a zucchini is good. I want it very thin to cook through fast. I keep the seasoning simple. Some salt is enough for now. Spinach is a very nice addition. I had some leftover. During pregnancy it is ideal because it has high folic acid. And another optional but very recommended ingredient is walnut. They bring fat and crunch and they are so healthy. I'll roughly chop some. I'll go for half a cup. I'll give it a stir, then add some protein. White beans are a really nice combo, but feel free to use what you have. Chickpeas or even lentils. I'll use a can to fit those 15 minutes, but if you've got the time, feel free to cook dry ones. We'll finally chop lots of dill and cilantro because these herbs can really enhance the dish. To beautifully melt all these flavors, we'll squeeze half a very ripe lemon. These dishes require minimal tools and the cleaning is ready in minutes too. Ideally, when we want to cook a 15-minute dish, it's nice when the cleaning is under 5 minutes. If you have a little more time than 15 minutes and want to see how I manage my metabolic health, you have to watch this video where I show 8 recipes of what I eat in a week to stay sugar-free and energized. I think honestly, lunch is the hardest meal to get right, especially when you're handling a busy household or a demanding schedule. It's the main reason why so many people resorting to processed takeout, but I don't want you spending your hard-earned money on fast food that leaves you feeling sluggish. I want you enjoying delicious from scratch Mediterrasian lunches that are light, nutrient-dense, and keep your energy steady without the sugar crashes. Most importantly, as a mom of 2, I know we don't have all day in the kitchen, so every one of these meals come together in under 15 minutes. We're starting off with a recipe that I've finally perfected to crack that 15-minute code without sacrificing a single bit of flavor. We're starting with our protein. I'm using chicken breast cut into small cubes. The smaller the cut, the faster the sear. Toss them into a stainless steel pan with a splash of hot olive oil. I'm a firm believer that less is more, so we're keeping it simple. Just add pepper and a touch of paprika. Let it sit for a minute to get that beautiful golden crust. While the chicken sears, we maximize our minutes by getting the quinoa going. It's a simple 1:2 ratio. 1 cup of quinoa to 2 cups of water. Bring it to a boil, then let it do its thing. Now for the Mediterranean crunch. If you have a veggie chopper, now it's time to use it. We're dicing 2 big cucumbers into tiny cubes, followed by red peppers for that hit of freshness. I've got some juicy ripe tomatoes here. Get those into the bowl too. Every great salad needs a mountain of fresh herbs, so we're using plenty of dill and cilantro. For a hit of healthy fats and brain power, I'm adding roughly chopped walnut. They add a perfect earthiness that ties the whole bowl together. To finish, we're adding our fluffy quinoa, a squeeze of fresh lemon juice, and a handful of pomegranate seeds for a burst of natural sweetness. Give it a mix and you have a high-protein, low-glycemic lunch that's ready to go. Next up is a meal that proves you can have steak on a weekday. We're cutting beef into small cubes so it flash cooks in the pan with a little olive oil. While the beef browns, we prep our greens. I'm dropping fresh spinach into boiling water for exactly 30 seconds. Just enough to wilt, then immediately into an ice bath to lock in that vibrant green color. I'll add some broccoli florets to the same water for 4 to 5 minutes until they're tender crisp. Back to the beef, a pinch of salt and a splash of water to deglaze the pan and keep things juicy. We're serving this over a quick prep rice. To keep it Mediterranean, I'm folding in freshly chopped cilantro and a bright squeeze of lemon. Ensemble it all in a bowl, the fluffy rice, the iron-rich greens, and a generous portion of that savory beef. It's clean, it's fast, and it's miles better than takeout. Finally, we're making 12-minute chicken fajitas. This is all about the sauté. Melt a small knob of butter and toss in sliced bell peppers and red onion. Once they start to soften, add your chicken breast sliced into 1-inch strips for quick cooking. Season with salt, pepper, and paprika. In about 10 minutes, the chicken is juicy and the veggies are caramelized. Finish with lemon juice and more fresh cilantro. I'm serving mine inside a fresh warm pita with a dollop of Greek yogurt for that creamy probiotic finish. It's a perfect handheld lunch that feels like a treat. If you're struggling to eat healthy without spending many hours in the kitchen, I want to give you a free gift. I've spent many hours to break it down into a 30 recipe book for energy, recovery, and weight loss. Go to the description and grab it, it's absolutely free. The bitter truth, why it's not the fat, it's the poison. I did a bunch of research about sugar and the effect that it has on us, and I want to share with you the research that I found. I'll start this video with a story that we've been told and why it's wrong. This story has been in the marketing for over 35 years, and it's about biochemistry, politics, and a massive public health failure. By the time I'm done, I hope I have debunked the last 3 decades of nutrition information, especially in the US. Let's start with a quick quiz. What do the Atkins diet and the traditional Japanese diet have in common? On the surface, nothing. Atkins is all fat and no carbs. The Japanese diet is all carbs and no fat. Yet they both work for weight management. Why? Because they both share the critical factor. They eliminate the sugar known as fructose. We talk about the obesity epidemic, but look at the data. We aren't just seeing more obese people, the entire population's weight curve has shifted. On average, today we all weigh 25 pounds more than we did 25 years ago. Now, people really love to blame the genetics, but our gene pool didn't change in 30 years. Our environment did. We've been taught the first law of thermodynamics as a moral failing. If you eat it, you better burn it or you'll store it. This frames obesity as a result of gluttony and sloth. But I'm here to tell you that's the biggest mistake in modern medicine. Obesity isn't a choice, it's a biochemical process. We have an epidemic of obese 6-month-olds. You cannot tell me that a 6-month-old is a glutton or lazy. There is a biochemical force driving energy storage, and today we're gonna find out what it is. The Great Fat Fallacy. In 1982, the American Heart Association and the USDA told us all to reduce our fat consumption from 40% to 30%. We listened, we created a world of fat-free cakes and low-fat snacks. But as our fat consumption went down, obesity, heart disease, and diabetes just skyrocketed. So is it the fat? No, it's not. What happened was that we replaced the fat with carbohydrates, especially sugar. We are eating more calories than we used to. But why? Because our negative feedback system, a hormone called leptin, isn't working. Leptin tells your brain you've had enough. If we're overeating by 300 calories a day, it's because our biochemistry is broken. Let's look at where those extra calories are coming from. In 1915, a Coke was 6.5 ounces. Today, a single serving is 20 ounces. But it's not just the size, it's the chemistry. Coke contains caffeine and 55 milligrams of salt. It's just like drinking a liquid pizza. Why is there so much sugar? To hide the salt so you don't taste it. The salt makes you thirstier, the caffeine makes you go to the toilet, and the sugar just masks the salt so you keep drinking. Is corn fructose worse than canned sugar? Economically, yes. Biologically, they are essentially the same. They both contain fructose, and fructose is a poison. Notice the differences. Glucose is a 6-membered ring, fructose is a 5-membered ring. They are not metabolized the same way. Glucose is the energy of life. Every cell in your body can use it. Fructose, however, can only be processed by your liver. We went from eating 15 grams of fructose a day from whole fruits to 75 grams or even more. We are being poisoned by the sheer volume. This didn't happen by accident. It was a perfect storm of 3 political wins. 1. Nixon. In 1972, the government wanted food to be cheap to keep it off the political table. 2nd, the invention of HFCS. It was cheap, stable, and it found its way into everything, from hamburger buns to barbecue sauces. When the food industry took the fat out, the food tasted like cardboard. To make it palatable, they dumped in the sugar. The war on fat was based on a logical fallacy. Scientists found that dietary fat raises LDL, which is the bad cholesterol, and that LDL correlates with heart diseases. They assumed that by removing the fat, they would remove the disease. But as early as 1972, John Yudkin, a brilliant British researcher, warned us in his book Pure White and Deadly that the real culprit was sugar. Of course, he was ignored in favor of Ansel Keys, whose 7-country study seemed to blame fat. But if you look closer at Keys' data, countries like Japan and Italy had low heart disease, but that's not just because of low fat, but because they had almost no fructose in their diets at the time. What conclusions do we get from this? We have been hoodwinked. We've been told that juice is healthy, but juice is just sugar water without the fiber of the fruit to slow it down. We've been told that all calories are equal, but the calorie of fructose is vastly more damaging to your liver than a calorie of glucose. Managing your health isn't about counting calories, it's about understanding the biochemistry of what you put into your mouth. Fructose, it's not just empty calories, it is a chronic dose-dependent liver toxin. The great low-fat lie. Most people think that low-fat craze of the 1980s was based on solid science. It wasn't. It was based on a massive statistical error by a man named Ansel Keys. Keys claimed that heart disease was caused by saturated fat, but if you actually look at his raw data, there was a glaring problem. Whether people ate high fat, they were almost always eating high sugar too. Think about a donut. It's loaded with fat, right? But it's also loaded with sugar. Keys never separated the two. He didn't do the math required to see which one was actually killing us. He just blamed the fat and ignored the sugar. And because he's no longer with us, we're left with a 30-year legacy of nutrition policy that has a hole in its size of a battleship. The LDL shell game. We've been told for decades that LDL is the bad cholesterol, but it's not that simple. There are actually 2 types of LDL. The pattern A, these are large and buoyant. They are like beach balls floating in a stream. They're too big to get stuck in your artery walls, so they don't cause block. The pattern B, these are small and dense. These are the lethal pellets. They sink, they get trapped under your vessels walls, and they start the fire that leads to heart disease. Here's the kicker. Dietary fat raises the harmless pattern A. It's carbohydrates and sugar that raises the deadly pattern B. When we went low fat in 1982, we did the worst thing possible. We took out the fat, which made the food taste like cardboard, and the food industry replaced it with sugar to make it palatable. We traded large buoyant LDL for small dense LDL. We didn't make ourselves healthier, we just changed the way we got sick. Fructose, the alcohol without the buzz. To understand why this is so dangerous, you have to look at the biochemistry. Let's compare 120 calories of glucose, like white bread, with 120 calories of fructose, like the sugar in the soda. When you eat glucose, every cell in your body can use it for energy. Only about 20% of it hits your liver. Your liver converts it into glycogen, which is a completely safe, non-toxic energy storage. Your brain sees the insulin spike and says, hey, I'm full, stop eating. But fructose, it's a totally different animal. Fructose is processed only by the liver. It doesn't stimulate insulin, which means it doesn't shut off your hunger hormone, ghrelin. It also doesn't signal your brain's fullness hormone, leptin. This is why you can drink a 20 ounces soda and still feel hungry, enough to eat a full meal. Your brain literally doesn't know you just consumed 250 calories. In fact, the way your liver handles fructose, it's almost identical to how it handles ethanol, alcohol. Alcohol is just fermented sugar. When you dump a high dose of fructose into your liver, it creates a traffic jam of energy converted directly into liver fat. As your liver struggles to process all that fructose, it creates a waste product called uric acid. Most people associate uric acid with good, but it does something much more invisible and dangerous than that. It blocks the enzyme that keeps your blood pressure low. When uric acid goes up, your nitric oxide goes down and your blood pressure skyrockets. We are currently facing a national epidemic of hypertension and metabolic syndrome, which is just a fancy name for the combination of obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. We've removed the fiber from our food because it's fast and shelf stable, and we've replaced it with a metabolic toxin that our livers weren't designed to handle in these quantities. We haven't just messed up our food supply, we've poisoned it on purpose. And we have to know this and we have to change it. The chemical truth about sugar, the great substitution. Think about a sports drink. We're told it's for athletes, right? And it's true. If you run 26 miles, high fructose corn syrup helps your liver refuel faster than anything else. But let's be real, who's actually drinking it? It's not marathon runners, it's kids. In the early 90s, the big soda companies realized they couldn't market a salty recovery drink to the masses because, frankly, the original stuff tasted just like sweat. So what did they do? They just hit it with a massive dose of sugar. We took a specialized medical tool for athletes and turned it into a daily beverage for toddlers. The new fat marketing machine. Here is the chemical reality. When you eat a piece of white bread, glucose, your whole body uses it. Only a tiny fraction hits your liver. But when you drink a soda, which has lots of fructose, your liver takes the entire hit at once. In your liver, that fructose triggers a process called de novo lipogenesis. That's a fancy way of saying creating fat from starch. In fact, when you consume fructose, 30% of those calories end up as fat. You think you're drinking a low-fat carbohydrate, but metabolically, you're drinking liquid fat. The starving brain paradox. The worst part is that sugar breaks your internal fuel gauge. Normally, a hormone called leptin tells your brain, hey, you've got enough energy, stop eating. But the high insulin levels caused by sugar block that signal. Your brain literally cannot see the leptin. So even though your body is storing record amounts of fat, your brain thinks you're starving. You aren't overeating because you're lazy or weak-willed. You're overeating because your brain is receiving famine sign in the middle of a feast. Alcohol without the buzz. If I gave a child a beer, I'd be arrested, right? But I give them a Coke, that's a treat. Chemically, the liver handles them almost exactly the same. Both cause fatty liver, both cause high blood pressure, and both drive the metabolic syndrome that is currently crushing your healthcare system. Fructose is ethanol without the buzz, the natural antidote. So why is fruit okay? Because nature never provides the poison without the antidote. That antidote is fiber. Sugar cane is basically a stick of wood. In nature, sugar is locked inside the fiber matrix. Fiber does three things. It slows down absorption so your liver doesn't get overwhelmed. It feeds your gut bacteria, the fat or fart choice. It triggers your fullness signal faster, and when we process food, we strip the fiber away to make it shelf sustainable. We are effectively removing the safety belt from the car and then wondering why the accidents are so fatal. The reality check. The government won't save us from this. The FDA only regulates acute toxins, the stuff that kills you today. They don't regulate chronic toxins, the stuff that kills you in 20 years. A calorie is not just a calorie. Glucose is the energy of life. Fructose is a metabolic toxin. We've been told for 40 years to eat less and exercise more, but that doesn't work if the fuel you're putting in the tank is breaking the engine. It's time to stop looking at sugar as empty calories and start looking at it from what it actually really is. It's a chronic hepatotoxin. If you're looking for a cheap, nutritious dinner that you can easily make in an Airbnb while traveling, you absolutely need to try this simple spinach and lentil curry. It uses basic ingredients, doesn't require any fancy equipment, and comes together with almost no effort, perfect for a cozy meal on the road. Start by bringing a pot of water to a boil. Nothing complicated here, just enough water to comfortably cover your lentils. Once it's bubbling, add in your 2 cups of dried lentils. You can use red, green or brown depending on what you find at the store. Let the lentils cook for around 20 minutes or until they're soft and tender. Give them a stir every now and then so they cook evenly. While the lentils are doing their thing, grab 1 medium white onion and chop it finely. This will add a nice base of flavor to the curry. Heat a little oil in a pan, olive oil, vegetable oil, whatever you got, and saute the onion for about 5 to 6 minutes until it turns soft. Next, add in about 3 cloves of garlic, minced or chopped, and saute that for another minute. You want the garlic to become fragrant but not burnt. Now it's time to build the flavor. Add a combination of red chili powder, ground coriander, curry powder, cumin, and a bit of turmeric. Cook the spices for about a minute to wake them up and help them release their aroma. While the spices are smelling amazing, add in a couple of chopped tomatoes. Season them right away with a pinch of salt and a little black pepper. Let them cook for about 5 minutes, stirring gently until they soften and start to break down into a thick, saucy mixture. This will become the flavorful base that ties the whole curry together. When the tomatoes are fully cooked and the lentils are soft, pour the tomato mixture into the pot of lentils. Stir everything together so the spices coat the lentils evenly. Now grab a whole box of fresh spinach. Add it straight into the pot. It may look like a lot at first, but spinach cooks down dramatically. Stir it in, and if the mixture looks too thick, add a small splash of water. Season again with a little salt and pepper, then let the curry simmer for another 5 minutes. Season again with a little salt and pepper, then let the curry simmer for another 5 to 10 minutes. This helps all the flavor blend and gives you a chance to adjust the consistency to your liking. If you want it thicker, simmer longer. If you want it thinner, add a bit more water. Once everything is soft, creamy, and beautifully combined, your spinach and lentil curry is ready to serve. For the perfect finishing touch, squeeze a bit of fresh lemon juice over the top right before eating. It brightens the whole dish and balances the spices perfectly. Serve this with some steamed rice if you have access to a pot or rice cooker, and if it happens to find fresh naan at a local bakery or market, even better. Let me show you how I made this delicious, easy and so quick little beef veggie stir fry. I'm using ground beef for protein. Here I'll use about 1 pound, but you can do this with chicken, with pork, you can do it even with shrimp. You can do it with no meat at all and just use a bunch of vegetables or even tofu. It's so delicious. I had some ground meat left in the fridge to use, and I added a little salt, a little black pepper, give it a mix and let the meat cook while you get everything else prepped. For the veggies, this is a great time to clean out your fridge. I had some broccoli, a red pepper and a green bell pepper that I just sliced up, and these are perfect. This is what I have on hand, but like I said, feel free to use anything that you have. I'll bring a zucchini, and ideally you grate a carrot. I forgot, I got distracted with the kids and I just skipped it, but carrot is very recommended. I just remembered I had some mushrooms to use as well, so then I chopped some of them. I had some garlic, it really melts nice in this recipe. I use 4 cloves, adjust based on your taste. Saute for a couple of seconds. For this, I won't make any sauce. I'll use lemons from the garden. Now it's perfect time to use some. I just squeeze right on top at the end. They are so sweet and perfectly ripe. I like to add a bunch of fresh cilantro for that fresh taste. Now I have some rice cooking, but feel free to use pasta, noodles, eat it by itself, even with bread it's great. But to make this recipe, it's so easy. Add your veggies, cook those for a few minutes so that they become tender. It's so healthy, so delicious, versatile, and such a great weeknight go-to because it takes no time at all to put together.
It's a great clean out your fridge type of recipe. It makes everyone happy, doesn't dirty up a bunch of pots.
Most people think healthy is about restriction, but I see it as choosing my struggle. I'd rather suffer through 20 minutes of chopping fresh vegetables than suffer the long-term effects of fatty liver and insulin resistance. In this video, I'm showing you what a week of worth it suffering looks like. This is Mediterrasian cooking. My mission here is to help you become healthier and make more informed choices about the food you put into your body. If you're finding these tips and recipes helpful, subscribing is a huge help. It helps get this to more people, and if you're already part of the community, thank you so much for your support. The first thing I'll start with is homemade burger buns. Many recipes require you to bake the potatoes for an hour, but let's try to be more efficient, so I'll boil them instead. Add water and some salt to a pan and bring it to a boil. In the meantime, prepare about 3 potatoes. Peel the skin and cut them into cubes to speed up the boiling process. Add them to the water. This week I decided to add pizza to the menu, so we'll start by preparing the dough for that first. Dough recipes are different, so for this pizza dough, start adding lukewarm water to a bowl, not hot, not cold, because the yeast needs it to be just warm, followed by active dry yeast and salt. Many recipes call for at least 1 tablespoon of sugar, but if you follow this recipe, you'll see it's not mandatory. You can get a very delicious pizza without it. Add some olive oil, give it a mix, and then start adding the flour 1 cup at a time. Knead after each addition. Depending on the flour you use, you may need a little more or less, so adding it gradually helps you get the right texture. Kneading will take about 10 minutes. Then set it aside to rest for about 90 minutes. I am a mother on a rush, and you'll see that even with 30 minutes of rest, the dough is still pretty manageable. Let's make the buns now. In a bowl, add water and active dry yeast, followed by salt. I added 2 small eggs, but if yours are large, just add 1. If the egg is room temperature, even better. Add melted butter, make sure it's not hot, and then start adding the potato. You can either mash it with a fork beforehand or do it directly in the bowl if you can. Make sure it's just warm, not hot, so it doesn't burn the yeast. 150 grams of potato should be fine. Make sure it's just warm, not hot, so the yeast doesn't burn. 150 grams should be fine. We need the potatoes to make the dough soft and really enhance the bread. Once the mixture is well combined, start adding the flour. Again, 1 cup at a time, not the entire amount at once. All-purpose flours work just fine. Mix it very well until you get a nice dough. Then set it aside and let it rest for about an hour or so. A recipe we've had on repeat this past month is this roasted cauliflower. In a cup I mix 2 eggs very well. We try to keep it low carb, so we'll just use a bit of flour instead of breadcrumbs like most recipes have. Add paprika, salt and black pepper and cut the cauliflower into relatively small pieces. The way I do it is very simple. I cover them in egg, roll them individually in the flour mixture and spread them on a baking sheet lined with parchment paper and a bit of olive oil. I had a beautiful cauliflower and so I put the rest of it in the freezer for another round when I want to cook it. I also had some leftovers in the refrigerator, so I decided to add a few tomatoes and mushrooms to the sheet. I sliced some white onion and added it right on top. For this I added some freshly chopped dill. It's such a nice addition. Then I bake at 450 Fahrenheit for 20 minutes, then turn them over and bake again for another 10 or 15 minutes at 250 Fahrenheit. A recipe I love to use as a dressing is this tzatziki sauce. I even use it on my burgers and my husband confirms that it's just a great combo, so it's not just a weird pregnancy habit. I've noticed that 1 large cucumber is just enough. I cut it into 2 pieces, take the seeds out, since that's where most of the water is, and then chop it as thin as I can. Once finished, I squeeze it very well between my hands to remove any excess water and add it to the bowl. The next very important ingredient is dill. I chop it as finely as possible and add it right on top of the cucumber. I I squeeze a very well-ripe lemon straight from the garden. And finally add the sour cream. Give it a good mix and your dressing is just ready. The cauliflower and the rest of the veggies have cooked through beautifully. The cauliflower is crunchy on the outside and very soft on the inside. It melts in your mouth. For the pizza, I'm grating some mozzarella. Surprisingly, it's quite pricey here in Georgia comparing to Romania. This piece of cheese is about $10. But anyway, I grate a lot of it on parchment paper, add some olive oil. You can see that the dough rose beautifully and is ready to use. Feel free to do stretch and fold if you want, to let it rest again, or even refrigerate overnight to get a better crust. But we aren't very patient in this regard, and so we just shape it on the parchment paper. And follow with the tomato sauce. I know there are fancier ways to shape the dough, but I want to simplify things as much as possible. I spread the cheese so even the edges are covered. I'm a no pizza expert, but it was very delicious. On top of the cauliflower, I spread some chopped fresh cilantro. The pizza goes in the oven for about 15 minutes at 500 Fahrenheit. Keep an eye on it, it cooks very fast. Here you have the roasted cauliflower with the tzatziki sauce. I had some leftover fried chicken, so it was the perfect lunch to keep on repeat. It was so good. The pizza is ready too, it doesn't look bad at all. We do try to avoid carbs, but we made an exception this week. The dough for the buns is ready as well. This is also simplified. I wet my hands with water, shape the bun and place it on the parchment paper. The recipe should give you 12. In my case I got 10 because a few were bigger. It's totally up to you. Before baking, you can brush them with an egg wash to give them a golden color. Bake for about 20 minutes at 450. Keep an eye on them. Another family favorite is this chicken recipe. I chop some leftover white onion and put it on a plate. I grate about a teaspoon of ginger for extra fresh flavor and squeeze a large lemon from our garden. followed by many minced garlic cloves. I use about 5. Feel free to adjust to your taste. As it bakes, the garlic mellows out, so it's not as intense as it seems. I chop lots of fresh dill and cilantro, then add paprika, salt, black pepper, followed by a very generous amount of olive oil. Give it a good mix and let's cut the chicken. I start with the legs, then we move to the wings. I section it in half, separating the back from the breast. The breast is quite large, so I'll just cut it in 2, perfect for kids, and I cut the back into 2 pieces as well. I cover them one by one in the mixture and add them straight to the parchment paper. If you want a more intense flavor, you can let the chicken marinate overnight in the refrigerator, but for us it's the fast, efficient way, which is still delicious. So bake at 450 Fahrenheit for about 35 minutes, then maybe another 10 minutes at 200 Fahrenheit. Just make sure to keep an eye on it. There's no great burger without good beef that you cook yourself. I got 1 kilo of meat and shaped it into equal round patties. Ideally you want an 80-20 fat ratio, so you don't need oil or butter. Just fry them in a stainless steel pan. Mine didn't have quite that much fat, and so it did chart a bit here and there, but it wasn't bad. Season with salt, flip and cook for another 7 to 10 minutes until fully cooked. Especially being pregnant, I make sure everything is well done. I add a piece of cheddar that I sliced myself. They have funny shapes, but they'll melt anyway, so no problem. I'm cooking about 8. In the meantime, the chicken is ready. I'm trying to multitask. For the chicken, I had some leftover baked potatoes, which were amazing with the tzatziki. For the burger, I keep it simple. The bun is baked beautifully on the inside, as you can see. I add the patty and extra cheese, followed by tomato and lots of tzatziki sauce. I avoid mayonnaise during pregnancy because of the raw egg, and I avoid ketchup because of the sugar. The yogurt sauce has you covered. Even store-bought pickles often have sugar, which is why I skip them. It was so good. Definitely give it a try. This week we expected some friends over and I wanted to serve them their own traditional food, which is hachapuri. It's basically bread with cheese and so easy and delicious. You need warm water, yeast, salt and some yogurt, which makes the dough soft. Mix it and start adding flour 1 cup at a time. My little helper mixes well, then I take over and knead by hand. When I finish, I add a few drops of olive oil and mix again. Most baked breads have sugar in them in order to soften the dough, but believe me, you don't need it. For your teeth alone, even a little sugar can have side effects, so I highly recommend avoiding it when it isn't necessary. This lentil soup is a staple for us because it's easy, delicious and high protein, especially during the fasting days. Saute the chopped onion, white or red doesn't matter, in olive oil. Thinly chop some garlic cloves and saute them for a minute or so. Chop a big carrot. This is such a nice addition. I chopped a bit more than I needed, so I'll give the rest to my kids as a snack. They love it. Cube a few potatoes and set them aside. I add the green lentils and carrots first because they take longer to boil than potatoes. I'll add them about 5 to 7 minutes later. Cover with water and add some salt. The pizza was so good that I sacrificed some hachapuri dough to make another one as a snack. For hachapuri they use imeruli cheese, which is a mild salted cow cheese. It's delicious with fried veggies, potatoes or meat. The soup is now ready for the potatoes, so I'll add them, I'll cover it and let it simmer for another 10 to 15 minutes. My snack pizza was ready fast. I spread olive oil on parchment paper. And shaped the dough with my fingers. Again, we keep it simple for minimal cleaning. add the cheese, fold the edges over to cover it entirely, then press it down to hide the cheese. I turn it over so the cheese is more on top. Bake for 20 minutes at 450 Fahrenheit. A great addition to the soup is spinach. I cut the bunch into about 4 pieces, add it to the soup and let it cook for a few minutes. Finally, chop some fresh cilantro, add it and turn off the heat. How to quit sugar in 5 steps for more energy, fewer cravings, and better health overall. The hidden sugar trap is that this tiny amount of powder is the absolute maximum amount of added sugar you should consume in a day. But the scary part is that most of us are hitting double or even triple of the limit. Over a week, that creates a massive health deficit. It isn't just about the obvious sweets like candy or soda. Today I'm revealing exactly where sugar is sabotaging our diet, how it wrecks our mood and energy, and my 5 essential strategies to slash your sugar intake without feeling deprived. I used to struggle with sugar, chasing sweets after every meal and relying on sugar-rich snacks even as main foods of the day during work or during my study time in university. I thought swapping to quick alternatives would help, but I was wrong. Why your healthy snacks are failing you. Sugar is a master of disguise. It's hidden in plain sight even in foods marketed as health products. A bottle of Coke of 500 milliliters has 12 teaspoons of sugar. Energy drink, at least 10 teaspoons. Some fruit juice, 4 teaspoons. Some granola, 4 teaspoons of sugar. Iced coffee, at least 6 teaspoons. It's also lurking in savory items like salad dressings, marinades, and pre-made soups. Manufacturers bury it under technical names like syrups, agave, and concentrates. Even refined white carbs like pasta and rice hit your bloodstream just as fast as a pure table sugar. The packaging secret is natural versus added. Not all sweeteners are equal. It contains sugar, but it's wrapped in fiber and antioxidants. When you eat whole fruit, your body releases pectin, creating a protective layer in your gut that slows sugar absorption. This gives you steady energy rather than a crash.
The same applies to complex sources like lentils, quinoa, and even sweet potatoes. However, once you strip that fiber away, like in fruit juice, the sugar becomes free and hits your system in seconds. Too much free sugar does more than just causing cavities. It drains your daily energy, ruins your sleep, and fuels intense cravings. Long term is a primary driver for chronic inflammation, fatty liver disease, cognitive decline, and dementia, even type 2 of diabetes, complications during pregnancies, and so on. 5 steps to reset your cravings. First, master your morning. Most people start their day on sugar roller coaster with overnight oats or jam on toast. This causes a massive spike followed by a crash that makes you crave sugar by 11 a.m. Instead, pivot to protein and fiber. Think eggs, mini steaks, plain Greek yogurt, nuts. Let cinnamon and berries provide the sweetness instead of syrups. Ditch the liquid sugar. Liquid calories are dangerous because your brain doesn't register them as fullness. Swap sodas and store-bought smoothies for maybe sparkling water, but even that, it's too acidic for your dental health. Maybe some hibiscus tea or black coffee. Shop in a smart way. The battle against sugar is won in the grocery store. Scan labels. For anything over 5 grams of sugar per 100 grams, that's the high sugar red zone. Swap pre-made dressings for olive oil and lemon and replace processed granola with plain oats. You dress up yourself. If you also follow these 3 rules while shopping, you'll definitely maximize your chances. Get the grocery list at home, a strict list ideally that follows a meal plan for the week, to try to think about how much it will cost you and to try to not carry more than that amount of money with you. And one of the most important one is to do the shopping when you are full. Make sure you ate before, because in this way you're not gonna buy more than you should. Even if it feels hard, most addictions clean within 2 weeks. So if you go through these 14 days, everything will become extremely easier after that. Prioritize protein. This is the ultimate secret weapon. If you don't eat enough protein, your body will keep demanding quick energy sugar. Every meal should start with a protein base. Red meat, fish. If you are in the US, take advantage of that wild salmon. Chicken, balanced with fiber, rich greens, and vegetables. This formula keeps you full and naturally kills the urge to snack on sweets. What happens if you stop eating sugar for 14 days? Have you ever wondered what would happen to your body if you completely walked away from sugar for just 2 weeks? I'm talking about a total blackout, zero sugar for 14 days. It sounds intense, but the transformation at the cellular level is nothing short of a total system reboot. Your cravings will vanish. The first thing you'll notice is that you lose your appetite for sugar. Here's why. Every time you eat the sweet stuff, your hormones spike to push your blood sugar down. This creates a low sugar crash that tricks your brain into demanding more. It's a vicious cycle. By cutting it out, you break the loop and the cravings finally die. True hunger relief. Most people are hungry all the time because they are running on sugar. Sugar is actually toxic to your body in high amounts, so your cells start to reject it, a process called insular resistance. This blocks your cell from being properly fed. When you quit sugar, your body reverses this resistance. Suddenly, you are absorbing minerals, nutrients, and vitamins more efficiently. You feel more satisfied for the first time in years maybe. Energy without the crash. Do you get hit with a food coma after lunch? That's a blood sugar spike making your brain tired. When you stabilize your levels, that post-meal fatigue disappears. Your brain stays awake, alert, and energized throughout the entire day. Rapid weight loss and the end of the block. During the first week, you're going to dump a massive amount of water and some fat. It's not uncommon for people to lose up to 13 pounds of fluid in 7 days. You'll see it in the mirror almost immediately, your clothes will loosen, and your midsection will shrink. Your waistline is the ultimate sugar meter. It's sugar and expands, quit sugar and it shrinks. A mental high. If you've been feeling irritable, prepare for a mood shift. You'll feel calmer and significantly less stressed. But the real superpower is the cognitive boost. Your focus becomes laser sharp and the brain fog or ADD-like distraction begins to clear, allowing you to actually finish your project. The sugar glow. Your skin is a direct reflection of your internal health. High sugar triggers insulin and androgens, especially in women, which are the primary cause of acne. In men, high insulin actually lowers testosterone. By quitting, your hormones balance out, your skin starts to glow. The 3-day shift. Here is the catch. It takes about 3 days to convert your body from a sugar burner to a fat burner. You might feel a bit worse, but you'll feel way better after these 72 hours. But anyone can handle 3 days. If you take some B vitamins and potassium, you can breeze through it. Long-term protection. As the 2 weeks progress, your body builds new enzymes to run on ketones. Ketones are a superior fuel source that actually supports the growth of new nerve cells in your brain. You're also cleaning out your liver, reducing the fat stored in your organs, and protecting your kidneys from the damage typically seen in diabetes. The proof is in the results. You are essentially building a brand new machine from the inside out. All it takes is 14 days of magic sugar detox. Many people struggle with stubborn belly fat and they want it gone for good. To understand how to lose it, we have to look at the science of what it actually is. Visceral fat. This is the fat that deep packs itself around your internal organs. According to endocrine research, there is a direct link between this specific type of fat and hormone called cortisol. The cortisol-insulin connection. Cortisol is often called the stress hormone and it has a unique ability to turn protein into sugar. Through this process, your liver creates fresh sugar out of non-carbohydrate foods like fats and proteins. This means that even if you aren't eating sweets, high stress can keep your blood sugar elevated. When your internal sugar levels go up, your insulin spikes as well. Insulin is the body's primary fat storage hormone. Whether that insulin spikes come from a high-carb diet, frequent snacking, or chronic stress, the end result is the same: excessive belly fat. This usually starts as a fatty liver. Once the liver is full, the fat spills over onto the abdominal cavity. If you can't see your feet when looking down, it's a clear sign your liver is congested and fat is migrating elsewhere. Then essential food to burn belly fat. To reverse this, we need foods that lower insulin, reduce cortisol, and repair the liver. Here is the top 10 list. Grass-fed hamburger. I'm talking about high-quality ground beef without the bun. It's nutrient-dense and easier for many people to digest than lean cuts. Because it's high in fat and protein with 0 carbs, it has a very low impact on insulin. Raw sauerkraut. This fermented superfood supports liver function and is a massive source of vitamin C. Since your adrenal glands use vitamin C to manage the stress that produces cortisol, sauerkraut is essential for keeping that stress belly in check. Wild-caught salmon. This fish is a superhouse of omega-3 fatty acids. These fats make your insulin more sensitive and naturally lower your cortisol levels. Avocados. These contain a unique chemical called avocatin B, which improves insulin sensitivity. They are high in healthy fats and extremely low in sugar, making them the perfect tool for a fatty liver. Broccoli sprouts. These are even more potent than full-grown broccoli. It has been shown to reduce visceral fat and liver fat by up to 20%. Eggs. They are the gold standard for protein with virtually zero carbs. They don't trigger insulin, but they do stimulate glucagon, which helps you burn fat. They are also packed with lecithin and choline, two nutrients that act as natural fat dissolvers for your liver. Cod liver, high in healthy fats and omega-3. Cod liver is incredible for fixing insulin resistance. You can eat it straight from the can or take it as a high-quality oil. Cruciferous vegetables, greens like kale, broccoli, and arugula provide potassium and magnesium. These minerals help lower insulin, reduce stress, and improve sleep, all of which are vital for weight loss. Asparagus. This contains asparagine, which helps the liver detoxify ammonia, a protein byproduct. It also contains prebiotic fiber that feeds your gut microbiome to help stabilize blood sugar from a different angle. The ultimate meal strategy to lose fat. If you want the perfect belly fat burning meal, try this. Start your day with eggs, good cheese, do red meat for lunch, and a large salad of arugula and sprouts dressed with olive oil and a slice of avocado with raw sauerkraut. This combination hits every hormonal trigger needed to turn off that fat storage and start the burning process. The fastest way to lose weight. I'm gonna show you a strategy that will really work for you. To drop weight as quickly as possible, you need to master a single fat burning thing: growth hormone. Produced by your pituitary gland, this hormone is your body's primary tool for burning fat. The absolute most efficient way to trigger it is through a specific rotation of intermittent fasting. By strategically timing when you eat and when you don't, you keep insulin low and growth hormone high. The 3-step fasting rotation. The step 1 is to have 3 meals, no snacks for 3 days. Start by having 3 solid meals a day. The most important rule here is to go zero sugar. Zero snacks, no snacking at night time, no small healthy bites between lunch and dinner. Why? Because every time you eat, you spike insulin, and insulin instantly shuts down your growth hormones. Do this for 3 days to stabilize your system. The step 2 is to transit from 3 meals to 2 meals. If you aren't hungry for some breakfast, skip it and just wait until lunch, then have dinner. If you prefer eating earlier, have breakfast and a late afternoon meal. Just ensure there's a large gap between both of these and nothing but just water between those 2 sittings. The 3rd step is the 1.5 meal strategy. That's for another 3 days, is where the weight loss accelerates. You'll have 1 large nutrient-dense meal. For your half meal, you'll have a nutrient-dense plate with ground beef and vegetables. No carbs, no pasta, no rice, no sugar. The goal here is to get the nutrients your body needs and allow the fat to burn. The cycle. After completing this, either repeat the cycle again until you reach your goal, or eat whole ingredients. Healthy foods only, no processed foods, no sugar. What your plate should look like? Fasting is only half the battle. What you put in your body during your eating window determines your success. First, massive amounts of vegetables. You need big salads or large portions of greens. They provide the vitamins required to sustain your energy while remaining low carb. Avoid corn and potatoes. Moderate protein. Your protein serving should be roughly the size of your palm, or about 5 ounces. High healthy fats. Do not go low fat. You need healthy fats like avocado, olive oil, nuts, Greek yogurt. Choose high fat for that. The fat is what allows you to fast longer without feeling hungry. The no-fly zone. To keep this the fastest weight loss strategy possibly, you must strictly avoid sugar and starches, grains, bread, rice, pasta, beans and corn, snacking of any kind, by rotating your fasting schedule and keeping your greens high, you are essentially forcing your body to run on its own fat stores. This is the most efficient way to reset a stubborn metabolism and reach your target weight in record time.
I probably follow a more detailed oral care routine than almost anyone. Today I want to explain what I personally do and what you can realistically do at home to dramatically improve your dental health. I didn't start from a healthy place. My teeth were in serious trouble. I had gum attachment loss, visible decay, and years of heavy sugar consumption working against me. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many people stare at their teeth in the mirror, unsure whether to smile confidently or keep their mouth closed. Dental visits can feel stressful because you don't know whether you're walking into a routine checkup or a major repair job. What to track first? Like anything else, oral health improves faster when you measure it properly. A typical dental visit might end with no cavities, you're fine. But that doesn't tell you the full story. The most meaningful markers include gum pocket depth, measured from the gum line down into the pocket. 1 to 3 millimeters is healthy. Anything deeper suggests trouble. Gum attachment strength, how firmly the gums hold onto each tooth. Plug accumulation, especially hardened plug along the teeth. Bleeding tendency, how easily the gums bleed when touched. Together, these give a much clearer picture of where your oral health truly stands. Steps 1. Water flossing. The foundation of a healthy routine is to use a water flosser. It's a great way to clean along the gum line and between teeth. Even after brushing and flossing, a surprising amount of debris still comes out. That's why I start here. It gets the mouth genuinely clean. Step 2. Thick floss. Next comes traditional flossing, but not the thin kind. I use a thicker, expanding floss because it removes significantly more plug than standard strands. Ideally, you use silk material because plastic can kind of leach into your mouth. Water flossing and string flossing work differently, and together they cover areas the other misses. Step 3. Brushing and toothpaste. I don't use an electric toothbrush, but I wonder if you do. I do use a wood toothbrush, and it can work just fine if it's done properly. One small but helpful habit is that I wait about 30 minutes after eating before brushing. Acidic foods temporarily soften enamel, and brushing too soon can cause damage. As for toothpaste, I rotate between two just for variety. Neither contains fluoride and both are focused on whitening without unnecessary additives. One of them I get from monasteries. Step 4. Tongue cleaning. This step is often overlooked but incredibly important. The tongue collects bacteria just like teeth do. Using a tongue scraper a few times a day noticeably improves breath and overall mouth clean lines. If you're not doing this already, you'll feel the difference almost immediately. Step 5. Mouthwash selectively. I only use mouthwash when it serves a purpose. A xylitol-based rinse works well before close social interactions or whether I want to ensure fresh breath. It's not something I use constantly, just strategically. There are options of store-bought gum that is sugar-free and it's based on xylitol. The improvements have been significant. Gum attachment loss has decreased by 40%, and my dentist describes now my gums are being very healthy. Daily habits that protect your teeth. Beyond tools and treatments, a few everyday choices make a huge difference. Minimize sugar intake. It's one of the biggest contributors to dental decay. Be cautious with acidic drinks like lemon, water, or coffee, especially when sipping throughout the day. Watch for signs of dry mouth, since saliva plays a major role in protecting teeth and gums. Stick to the basics consistently: water floss, floss brush, see your dentist regularly, and avoid excess sugar. and you'll already be far ahead of most people. One factor that doesn't get enough attention in oral health is diet. Removing sugar made one of the biggest differences for me, far more than any single tool or device. Sugar fuels the bacteria that drive decay and inflammation, and eliminating it changes the entire environment of the mouth. At the same time, a diet centered on red meat provides dense nutrition without constant acid or glucose exposure. Chewing fibrous, protein-rich foods stimulates saliva, supports mineral balance, and avoids the frequent blood sugar spikes that weaken teeth and gums over time. From an oral health perspective, fewer meals, no sugar, and nutrients-dense foods create conditions where teeth can actually stabilize and recover rather than constantly fight damage. Hidden under this cloth are the only 18 groceries items we buy almost every single week. That's a big claim, I know, but if you want to eat well, stay healthy, and actually control your food spending, you'll want to see what's underneath. So let's get into it. These aren't specific brands, but 18 core items or categories that together are enough for a healthy, nutritious, balanced diet. Why am I doing it? Because last week I shared a video on anti-inflammatory foods, and this is the natural follow-up. What that actually looks like when you're standing in a grocery store. I want to show you how simple shopping can be when you focus only on what truly matters. Modern supermarkets are designed to make us buy more than we need. The average grocery stores carry around 30,000 products, and even more than this in the US. Most of it is unnecessary. The result? Overspending, overeating, and throwing away huge amounts of food every year. A quick note before I start. The list isn't rigid. Depending on where we live, we buy and we don't buy certain foods. For example, in the US, we often buy wild Alaskan salmon. I feel like we have it maybe 4 times a week. In Romania, we love a specific Greek-style yogurt that we just consume daily. And in Georgia, we buy matzoni, a local yogurt, and lebne, which is a Turkish Syrian type of yogurt that, we just consume daily here too. If you have food intolerances or specific dietary needs, your list will look a little different, and that's fine. Also, we do use other ingredients, but not weekly, so they're not included here. Think of this as a foundation, not a rule book. I actually encourage you to adjust it. Tell me in the comments what you'd keep, what you'd remove, and what you'd swap up. The list, we build it like a meal. I'll start with olive oil. You need a cooking fat, and olive oil is our go-to. It's versatile, heart-healthy, and works for everything from salads to sautéing. Just be mindful of heat, it burns more easily than other seed oils. Garlic and onions are non-negotiable. Almost every meal we cook starts with these two. They're so essential that I separate them from the rest of the vegetables. Each week we choose one main protein, lamb, beef, or chicken. This time it's gonna be frozen fish. Lamb is incredible, versatile, roasted, baked, or pan-fried, and one piece can stretch across multiple meals. Same with fish, we can fry, bake, and use the heads for soup. We buy ours from local farmers when possible, and strongly recommend choosing organic if you can. We also use beef mince regularly. It's still one of the most flexible ingredients you can buy. Burgers, soups, pasta, sauces, tacos, it just works well. We avoid pork simply because we don't feel it gives much value. Lentils or beans, pick one each week. These are fantastic for stretching meat, building soups and stews, or making simple vegetarian meals. They're high in protein and fiber, inexpensive, and incredibly filling. Canned or dried can work. If this is helpful so far, liking the video or subscribing really supports the channel. Eggs. No explanation really needed for it. It's affordable, nutritious, and endlessly useful. Salt. If you strip everything back, salt is the only seasoning you truly need on a weekly basis. Herbs and spices are great, but they're not weekly purchases. Water, bottled or filtered, or even packed with stickers from the kids. We actually buy our water. It's something we drink and cook with every single day. Soups, rice, pasta, bread. So for us, it makes sense to treat it like a real ingredient. Tap water often contains chlorine, mineral buildup, or residue from old pipes. It's usually safe, but we'd rather keep unnecessary stuff out when it's the central of our diet. If you don't buy water, a simple step like boiling tap water can help reduce some of that and improve the taste. It's not about being extreme, just about making a small upgrade to something you use constantly. Vegetables and plant foods. Fresh vegetables. I group these together intentionally. The specific vegetables don't matter as much as actually buying and using them. We always have carrots and potatoes and work in almost anything. Frozen vegetables. It's a lifesaver. They're always available, nutritious, and easy to add in the meals or on the side. Here in Georgia, we don't really buy frozen because at the market they have fresh village vegetables. But when we are in the US or Romania, we can find really great options of frozen vegetables. Now for carbs and basics, pasta, any shape works. It's affordable, filling, and endlessly adaptable. Rice. We usually use jasmine rice. It's easy to cook, versatile, and works across many cuisines. Flour means bread, pancakes, and baking. When you keep flour at home, you naturally cook more from scratch and rely less on ultra-processed foods. We bake our own bread every couple of days. I just took 3 out right now. And honestly, I cannot go back to store-bought bread. Dairy and fats. Milk, butter, and cheese. Butter for cooking, cheese for flavor, milk for everyday use. If you're lactose intolerant, you can swap this out and increase fruit and vegetables instead. Peanut butter. Choose a good quality one if you can. It's great on toast, in smoothies, and mixed with yogurt. Simple and filling. Finishing with fruit, as long as you have a couple of fruits each week. Apples, bananas, citruses, you're covered. We're lucky to have our own mandarins, oranges, and even a lemon tree, which is a real blessing. Fruit is our snack and smoothie base, and it keeps us away from packaged snacks. A bonus sample for us is nuts. For us, this is one cashews, but we rotate with almonds or pumpkin seeds depending on what we're missing. A great source of healthy fats and easy calories. So there you have it. Around 18 core grocery items that cover a healthy, balanced diet and keep food shopping simple. I made some tough calls here and there's plenty of room for discussion. Let me know what you would add, what you'd remove, and what you'd change. If you enjoy this kind of content, hit subscribe, and if you want more ways to cut your food bills, check out the next video. If you're struggling to eat healthy without spending many hours in the kitchen, I want to give you a free gift. I've spent many hours to break it down into a 30 recipe book for energy, recovery, and weight loss. Go to the description and grab it, it's absolutely free. When I'm balancing my busy schedule, my 2 kids, and my pregnancy, I don't really have time for complicated breads. If there's a vegan bun recipe that I go for fast, low-effort lunches, it's this one. It's a 15-minute bake that gives you the perfect vessel for any sandwich in your fridge. Water, yeast, salt, and olive oil. Add a pinch of turmeric for that rich golden egg color while staying 100% vegan. Mix, knead for 10, and let it rest.
Using our turmeric gold vegan dough, we portion this into small, even rounds. No rolling pins, just shape them with your hands and drop them on the sheet. 450 Fahrenheit for 15 minutes. That's it, you get a bun that's incredibly light and fluffy without any of the preservatives you find in the store. I serve these two ways, one with a thick layer of cream cheese, crisp cucumber, tomato, and avocado. The other is a classic cheese and veggie stack. It's simple, it's fresh, and it's the ultimate Mediterranean lunch hack. Use what you have in your fridge and enjoy. If you're struggling to eat healthy without spending many hours in the kitchen, I want to give you a free gift. I've spent many hours to break it down into a 30 recipe book for energy, recovery, and weight loss. Go to the description and grab it, it's absolutely free. It's Monday today, and I decided to cook a bunch of food to make sure we have plenty for the next 3 days and to pretty much make sure I'm not gonna be worried about cooking. All of it is sugar free and it's meant to be as low carb as possible. I feel like my body is like a megaphone for literally how I'm feeling like as soon as I eat correctly, especially if I have sugar added in my meals. As you probably already know, I'm pregnant and the levels of energy that I have are reflected in what I eat. I always notice that after 3 days of no sugar and low carbs, I feel so much more energized. I feel more mental clarity. Even my skin is different when I eat only healthy foods. I'm really excited to share with you the meal plan for this week. We do the groceries in a free open market where it's mostly organic food. People bring their own chickens, their own eggs from their chickens. Same with the fruits, and it's quite nice to have that. It really does feel a difference in terms of quality as the taste, and it's just so much different. You'll see what I mean in just a second. For every morning breakfast, we have eggs with cheese and coffee with high-fat milk. We keep it every day the same. Now I plan to make breakfast burritos. I saw that there are so many different ways of making them, but some options look just overcomplicated to me, and I want to share with you my simplified version that takes very little time. In the past, I used to make them with homemade pita, but this time we found a good lavash option which has only 4 ingredients, and so we will use it this time. Start with the ground beef. I have about a pound here that is still half frozen. No worries, it will cook pretty fast. You can definitely personalize it more with your favorite spices, but I prefer to keep it simple with salt and black pepper only. It takes about 20 to 25 minutes to have it ready. Then I add frozen chopped cilantro. We usually use fresh, but this time because I ran out of fresh one, I just used the reserves from the freezer. To make things easy and to keep it fresh, I add it into a glass container and I move on to the next main ingredient, which is eggs. Normally the recipes are using about a dozen, but for me 10 was enough. I feel like one of the big advantages in living here is to just have fresh organic eggs. Now I have an inquiry. I used to be a big fan of the Vital Farmers. I'd spend that extra $8 or $9 extra just because, as many of you, I wanted the best nutrition for my pregnancy and my toddlers, and I truly believed the marketing about pasteurized perfection. But with the recent controversy in 2026 and the lab results showing their feed might be just as heavy in corn and soy as the cheap brands, I felt really conflicted, and the orange yolk due to the marigold or paprika to the feed. It feels like we're paying a premium price for marketing rather than actual quality. Lately, I've felt so blessed to have access to real local organic eggs where I know exactly what the hens are eating. The difference in how I feel and how my kids eat is actually night and day difference. But I know that's not an option for everyone, and once we'll move back, I'm going to be in the same boat as you, most likely staring at the grocery shelf, wondering what to buy. So that's why I want to ask you, what is your egg strategy right now? Are you still sticking with the premium brands, or have you found a better alternative? If you have a secret for finding high quality eggs without the corporate drama, please drop it in the comments. It's gonna be highly appreciated. We pay here about 35 cents for each egg, so with $15 we pretty much get about 40 eggs. Anyways, so for the burritos, I do scrambled eggs. Do low to medium heat to get soft eggs. Probably if you are in the US, you know better than me how to get them very soft. I don't add salt or anything, just cook them in lots of butter, then add them into a glass container. third main ingredient is cheese. I do some kind of cheddar cheese. It's a Danish brand, as this is kind of the best we can get here. I like to start grinding the leftovers first. I highly recommend to grind it yourself than to buy it already prepared to go, because it's way more dry and it's just different when you make it yourself. Now I set this aside and move to the next important dish of the day, which is meant to last months. Cooking liver is something maybe not very enjoyable for many. I just leave you a quick list of the benefits that this organ can have for our bodies. I clean the main skin, then I cut it into cubes. Here I have about a pound. I cook it in butter, lots of butter. It cooks pretty fast, about 5 to 6 minutes should be fine. But I do like to overcook it a little bit. It's safer this way, and I actually like it a bit more dry. Be careful if you're pregnant, because it has really high concentration of vitamin A, and this is why I consume it in moderation. To enhance the flavor, I cut an onion into thin slices. You can cook it before or after. I noticed it's not a big difference. I season with some salt and let it cook another few minutes. I usually take 1-2 bites a week, or anytime I want when not pregnant. I keep it in the freezer and just take a piece from time to time. This is actually one of the best supplements you can get, also due to the bioavailability, as it actually absorbs in your body. Next, let's cook my chicken noodle soup that I think every week I cook, sometimes even 2 times a week. One thing that might seem nasty, but I really enjoy buying the chicken that has most of the organs still inside, especially the liver. It's so great to just cook it in the soup and to see in the same time the health of the chicken. If it would have had some problems, some health problems, you would see on the liver with some stains or anything weird. So I started with the legs. I cut them. I'll show you in another video a better representation of it if you want. Let me know in the comments. Pretty much I cut the membranes first, then move to the chest and back, and then remove when I get the opportunity the liver and the stomach. It's really nice to see that it's not a very big size, it's just a normal tiny chicken. They seem very organic, which is probably very likely. We buy from ladies who raise them in their own gardens, not farmers with factories of chickens. I don't really keep the neck and the head. There are ways to keep more of it. Now the way I cook is the following. I add it all in a pan with boiling water just to clean it very well from blood and the remaining leathers. You saw it has some itch and there. In the meantime, let's make the noodles, which are very easy to make. 1 egg with a bit of baking soda, then flour until I get the consistency of a dough. My way of cooking is on fast mode. Normally, in order to get these noodles perfect, you need to let them dry for at least 2-3 hours, but I usually let it rest 10-15 minutes only. While it rests, I add the carrot and the onion into the soup. Feel free to add the celery here, the flavor makes it even better, but I just couldn't find to buy for some reason today. I season with salt, and while that cooks, I move to the next dish. Which is a bunch of vegetables that I plan to bake with parts of the chicken. I have broccoli, red pepper, a green bell pepper, and I cut them into cubes, nothing fancy. A carrot, just try for the pieces to be uniform to have them cook evenly. I bring a zucchini, use mushrooms if you have. I cook them in olive oil. I add the back of the chicken, the legs and one arm, and I keep the chest and organs for the soup. Something I did was to add an apple, which was actually such an amazing add. Next time I plan to add at least 2-3 more. Followed by an onion, add them to the baking dish, then season with what you have, salt, pepper, maybe some garlic would work as well, and bake at 450 for 30 to 35 minutes. Keep an eye on it, then bake for another 10 to 15 minutes uncovered to 250 to get them crisp a bit. While that cooks, let's go to our noodles. The dough is pretty dry now and I add some flour on a clean surface, then roll it with a spoon that I have, which is a spoon holder. Minimalistic equipment while traveling, but it worked very well. Once you fold it in a big piece, give it a couple of hours to rest if you have the time. If not, just use a bit more flour to roll it and then cut into tiny strips. It's actually my childhood soup that grandma used to cook so often for us. The risk for this dough is to stick too much and to not get those beautiful layers, but if you're careful you can make it work. Don't do pasta or other quick alternatives, it's just not the same. As the chicken chest should be cooked by now, I take all of it including the carrots and onion out into a bowl, then add the noodles and chop the carrots beautifully. I don't add the onion anymore, I just cut the chest as well into tiny bite-sized pieces and remove the bones. It's very efficient for the kids to eat more independently. Oh, another thing I really like is that it cooks so fast. In 30 minutes it's almost like cutting itself. This is a sign it's fresh and young. If you get a 4 or 5-year-old grandma chicken, you might end up boiling it for hours to get that meat tender. Add it back and then let it cook for another 5 minutes to kind of blend everything together. I add some frozen chopped cilantro. Highly, but highly recommend do fresh. I did it out of necessity, but if you want a real flavorful soup, fresh is the way to go. Sprinkle some black pepper and it's ready. Let's ensemble the burritos now. This lavash is very long, so I just cut one big piece into two, add some of each egg, meat, cheese, and feel free to enhance the recipe with other things if you want, but I just want things as simple as I can. Roll it, you might do a better job than I added some cheese at the end to kind of stick the sandwich. I stopped the heat for the soup and added some sour cream or Greek yogurt to the sandwiches. You can see the soup is very nice and the taste it's just amazing because of that chicken broth combined with homemade noodles. The vegetables and chicken were just super delicious as well. The dressings we're using are just lemon or olive oil or maybe yogurt, but that's kind of it. Please leave in the comments below if you have any healthy suggestions, but so far it's a real success with just this as well. This food was enough until Wednesday when I cooked this lamb. I pretty much just seasoned it with salt and some garlic and baked it for 2.5 hours. It was amazing. It's very organic too. Another recipe that I cooked was this fish. This recipe from an Italian chef, and it changed